Hello.
We're back. Hope everyone had a good lunch. I know I did. Liz, did you have a good lunch?
I had a good lunch. I had jelly beans for lunch, so you know.
I'm jealous.
All right. Well, we've got Rebecca in the chat asking us questions. Everyone else is also welcome to ask questions. You don't need to be married to one of us to ask, but if you are, that's fine too.
But it helps to get your question answered.
Okay. So, do we want to go ahead and start answering with Rebecca's questions then?
Yeah.
All right. So Rebecca's first question is, how long does it take to put the show together?
Well, I guess the answer to Rebecca is however long it takes your husband away from you is how long it takes to put it together.
We work kind
And
of
how
year round,
can we
slowly.
confirm that you know you actually are honest with her when you're working on CybFest and you're not having secret projects or anything like that. Oh, never mind. I mean, Jason's constantly busy. Uh,
We work pretty much year round. Things like we start getting like really into gear probably in January when we start getting registration and stuff ready. And then things like kick into like high gear probably around April, May, and that's like when we start like going really hard and hitting things and really getting everything nailed into place. So,
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, I'll start usually around January, February, starting to make trivia or make improvements for the registration because there are always a number of improvements and changes we try to make from year to year to make things better. Um, we have never been as awkward as those early BotCon online registrations, and we've never used fax machines, so I always feel a bit accomplished there.
we're
Yeah,
eventually going to go to fax machines,
I think
and then
it's
eventually
a step forward.
and then smoke signals.
yeah. So yeah, I'll start working on that. A couple nights a month or whatever in January and February, kind of thinking about ways to improve it, issues that we've had, kind of processing the data in the past, adding new options like the family option we added a year or two ago. That was based on us looking at our attendees and kind of figuring out what might be a more convenient way to let people register, because people part of that had to register for each person individually, but we also noticed that was kind of awkward for us because everybody registered as one group, and it was kind of hard to differentiate the adults and the kids. So next year, we're going to try to have that be a little bit clearer, and also to remove potential errors, so there's less follow-ups required by us.
And the family option is pretty much us trying to uh, help out those people that have lots of kids or family members that want to come and enjoy the show and trying to make sure it's inclusive for people and not uh, cost prohibitive, because we really want it to be like a family show as well, and we're all collectors, but a lot of us have families, and so it's important for us to make sure that's a big part of the show.
Okay. The next one is also from Rebecca. Who is in charge of what?
Jason, go ahead.
Right. So I do a lot of the tech end of it. I do the website updates based on our original art scheme that we came up with for our first year, and just kind of modifying that from here occasionally. We haven't made a whole lot of changes to it. We don't have a mobile-friendly version yet. That's something that's kind of on my future to-do list. That just kind of require, I think, having two separate versions of the site, and so that's something I've been thinking about doing, because I agree it would be very helpful the day of too, to be able to have a mobile-friendly version you can pull up on your phone. We added a lot of all that great Ben Hansen art, because someone gave us some feedback that it looks like a forestry website, not a Transformers website. And then other than that, I also do. I'm usually the one answering the emails. So if you send the emails like info registration site fest, that's usually me responding to it. And then I also do the tech end of the trivia. So Ben writes the questions for that, and I will take that and put it into some kind of interactive format, be like a Jeopardy board or a PowerPoint presentation.
And then I got brought on kind of to reach out to more of like the art side of the fandom and the kind of the part of the Transformers fans that aren't just toy collecting. And Ben and I both have been doing a lot of outreach outside of our kind of inner circle, like going to cons and tabling and things like that. So that's kind of my side of things, is handling Artist Alley and bringing people on board from that kind of side of the fandom.
And Liz is our kind of our link to kind of what the current favorite format or social media thing that's kind of happening. Um, I'm kind of stuck in Facebook, and I don't really have a Twitter or any of those kind of other things. So she's kind of taking more of a social media presence. I help answer questions occasionally, but I'm not as on social media as much as Liz is. But like Jason said, I help with the trivia contests and try to come up with some of the other ideas for panels and stuff like that. And Liz and I worked on getting David Kay to be a presence at CybFest. She kind of started off the contact with David Kay, and then from there I took over, since I got more of the business side of things on the bank account and stuff like that, and working with Jason on making sure we meet all the fees and the financial logistics that goes along with getting David Kay and other people like that to be a part of the show.
Yeah. Next question, a good one from Troy Seth. Troy Seth, I'm sorry, I don't know your real name to your chat name. Would a 2-day schedule be possible for future CybFest? We have been talking about this a little bit.
Yeah, ultimately, when Jason and I really started in CybFest, we wanted to eventually go to a 2-day show. There are logistical issues. So much of our attendees are about the toy dealer room. And one thing we noticed the first couple years, and we also noticed it when it was CybCon, was that there's a lot of people that kind of leave, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, because they've done the dealer room and bought what they wanted, and haven't really wanted to be a part of the later events at the show. And so one of the big challenges is to make sure that we have content that will make people want to stay, not just to the end of the day, but also thinking of a 2-day show, also bringing them back for a second day. So content is one of the things that we've been trying to add over the last few years. More panels. We've got the contests. The contests are a lot of them are carryover from the CybCon days, and we tried to bring in some other stuff over the years. I think the ultimately is, and I asked this of our attendees, the people in the chat, is what is it that you think will encourage you to come back a second day? If we have a Saturday show and a Saturday and Sunday show, what will make you want to come back on Sunday after you've already done the dealer room? There's also the added costs. It's expensive. Our cost is what it is for Saturday, and anything that if we do a Sunday, then it doubles our cost. So we also have to take that into consideration, that we don't want to necessarily raise our prices, but we may have to make a second day show happen.
Yeah. It actually probably be a little bit more than double, because we have to get overnight security for the dealer room as well.
Yeah.
Right, we don't want to run into a situation where people have to debate, do I want to set up again tomorrow, or do I want to leave my stuff overnight where it may not be safe? That's really important to us, is making sure that stuff is protected if it is there overnight. The other part of it, too, is we have a lot of people that make a day trip of CybFest. They leave really early in the morning and they drive up here, and then they leave at night when they're done at the dealer room and they're done with the panels and the trivia and everything. So we don't want to be like, hey, now you have to do hotel costs and, pay a little bit more for gas and food and all this stuff. We don't want to kind of alienate them with that, but we want to make it worth it to them. We don't want to say, like, if we have a 2-day con, we need it to have the substance of a 2-day con.
Yeah.
So.
And
yeah, but
Go ahead, Jason.
Sorry, but a big thank you though to the community this year though. Like y'all really stepped up, especially Mike Cyber. Thank you for doing so much content. Really helping us kind of prove that we can probably program a 2-day show, at least like panel and contest wise.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big step forward for us. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, we've had a lot of people talking with us this year, like, oh, I'm not available this weekend, but next year in person, I definitely want to do a panel. And so we already have like a decent list of people that have said they want to do panels next year, which I think is great. So.
Yeah, one of our biggest hurdles is when we first started this, and thinking back to our first year, is, the end of the day, it was pretty empty. And so what we didn't want is to have the Sunday portion of a show be completely dead and have nobody around, because that's rough on the dealers. It's rough for anybody putting on a panel, because you're putting on a panel for 3 people would be very kind of frustrating and disappointing, and dealers who have to sit there all day long and only have like a few people kind of milling around. So we kind of worked through the hurdle of the getting people to stick around to the end of the show by having more panels and stuff, as well as the raffle at the end of the day. Huh?
I said raffles.
The raffles, yeah. The raffle idea of doing the raffles at the end of the day was something I picked up from a local Disney convention that I go to, because I'm a big Disney fan. They have really impressive raffle prizes, and they have all of the raffle drawings are at the end of the day. And one thing I noticed about that convention was that nobody left. And people definitely invested into buying raffle tickets and stuff like that. So I wanted to try that out, and that seemed to help quite a bit in encouraging people to stay. The first year we had a couple of we were doing raffle prizes throughout the day. We ended up with me saying raffle numbers into a microphone over and over and over again, hoping that somebody would claim it. But because the items were, maybe a $20 figure or something, that people weren't really paying attention. So having $50, $100 items made people want to stick around, and so that helped quite a bit.
Okay, next question is from Jamal. The makeup of the organizer group has changed over the years. What factors go into your decisions as a group on when you do or do not choose to add people to the organizer group? Is it based on the volume of work or the size of the convention, etc.?
Good question. Well, originally when the convention started, it was Jason and I, and we brought on Randy Kinzer and Ryan Neville, but they kind of wanted to be more of just on the day of type of team members, and so that's kind of what their role is. But they are part of the fans venture business. So when we do get money from the show and stuff like that, it goes into our bank account, and then so they're on the bank account and stuff like that. But as far as the organizers, it started out as Jason and I, and then it was him and I for a couple years, and then Rick Nian came in and joined us for a couple years, and then Liz, who helped out and volunteered a couple of years before we brought her on as a organizer. Once she expressed interest, then we were like, we want her because she's awesome, and she has contributed a lot. I mean, Rick has done a lot for us, both as an attendee and volunteer throughout the years. He was part of CybCon when CybCon was going and stuff like that. So it has nothing really to do with the size of the con or anything like that. It's, trying to make sure that, we bring on people that we know are going to be, we're going to be able to use their abilities, and try not to take on too much and trying to make it confusing to manage. We want to make sure we utilize people's talents and skills to the best that we can.
Yeah, and like any other business, we basically look for places where Ben and I are lacking. Like we're both not great at the promotion end of it. Rick came in a few years ago and said, "Hey, I got some ideas here. I think I can really help you promote the show." And so we said, "Yeah, great, thank you." Plus, like so, we already knew him, so we knew that he could step up and do it. And then Liz, we've been getting a number of comments over the years that our social presence isn't great, and she came in and had some great ideas, and we knew that she could handle it. She proved herself by volunteering for a number of years, and then we invited her to come on board.
And we're definitely open for people to say, hey, this is what I would like to do. And if we don't get back to you, it isn't because we don't want you to. It's like it's kind of a process to try to decide how we want to utilize that anybody who we bring on to the team and stuff
Right.
like that.
Yeah, and as we grow, we'll have more roles than just organizers. Like, I mean, there'll always be, I think, a small group of quote unquote organizers that have a lot more control over the direction of the show, but we'll have a lot more volunteers. Like we have a good core of volunteers that kind of help us from year to year. And then as we find small needs, like for example, if we need someone to help out with like tech, like streaming tech or whatever, they might come in as kind of a higher tier volunteer that kind of helps us in that one specific area, but they're still not an organizer of the show.
Yeah.
And they're all important, critically important to helping the show run smoothly. We thank everyone.
Yeah, and of course, if people want to offer their services and stuff, let us know. You can always message us on Facebook or email us at Jason at CybFestNorthwest.com or Ben at CybFestNorthwest.com. And we can figure out ways to utilize you.
So we're out of questions in the chat. You guys can keep asking stuff if you want to. The conversation has kind of changed to what CybFest could look like next year and people's ideas for that, which I want you guys to know we are copying and pasting those and putting them in our Discord chat and saving them so we can look them over. I'm not answering you in the chat, but we are keeping those, don't worry. So there's just a lot of conversation about like how we could fill that content for 2 days, what the second day could be. Monica said something that we've already kind of talked about as a possibility, which was an in-person day on Saturday and a CybFest on Sunday, which I think we need to steal that name if we do it. But
yeah, that's a good one. But there was a question by Jamal, or a statement, if we're fortunate enough to line up more than one voice actor for the show, one on one day and one on the other, that definitely would be a great help. One thing I learned from talking to David Kay is one thing he told me was how much he appreciated there not being like 20 voice actors, because it really gave a lot more attention to just a focus onto one actor, rather than people having to pick and choose who their favorite was or their priorities and stuff like that. And I think a lot of it is based on how many people we have and how much money people are bringing, and making sure that we don't have to have people choosing between voice actor A and voice actor B, because they go, well, I can only afford to do one. And so that's not going to really help the voice actors if most of our attendees can only pick one. So, David Kay brought in that year brought in a lot of people. So it definitely showed us that voice actors is a draw for us. So we would like to improve that. David Kay's kind of covered a lot of different ground in the Transformers history. So if you're a Beast Wars fan, he's got you covered. If you're kind of an animated fan, Armada, Energon, Cybertron, there's so many years of him being a part of the convention. There's not a lot of voice actors that fill that wide range. Obviously, G1 actors would be great to have, but that's also more expensive. And so we gotta weigh those costs and making sure that we can maintain having a cost-efficient convention for people and not price people out because all of a sudden now we have to charge $30 to attend CybFest in order to have, Greg Berger as our special guest or whatever.
I thought you said Greg Berger.
Greg Berger.
The other part of that too is that voice actors are really expensive. And
Mhm.
if we add on a second day of rent and overnight security and a second voice actor too, that's a huge uptick in our costs immediately. So it's just there's a lot of factors that go into it, and it's a lot more than just like grabbing a voice actor off the street and shoving them behind a table. Um, but good for the next question.
Yeah, I saw the next question. Other Transformer conventions have showings of Transformer movies. Would it be possible to have showings at CybFest? It might be a great way to keep people on site longer. Um, yeah, I mean that's certainly a possibility. Something we've talked about. Um, there is a rights issue about public showing of television and stuff, and we try to make sure that we're not getting into copyright infringement and uh, stuff like that. So that's a possible issue because we are a legit business and stuff like that. We don't want to have any legal issues that come from like Hasbro finding out we showed a movie, the animated movie, and we didn't get the proper clearances to do that. I know that TFCon tried to do a showing of the animated movie, and Hasbro came down on them about it. Obviously, we are not at the same scale as TFCon, but we're also trying to make sure that we don't step on anybody's toes. And I think, especially as artists and stuff like that, we want to respect people's art and make sure that they get the royalties and all that they deserve, because nobody likes to have their stuff just given away for free when they don't have a say in it. So
The other thing too is we don't want to anger Hasbro. We don't want them to bring the hammer down on us. But I remember I went to TFCon in I think 2018. I might be wrong on that year, and they had a showing of the movie, and that was like the highlight of it for me, was watching that movie with so many people who were all like screaming along to the touch, which was great. And then I went to 2019 in March at LA with Ben and Jason, and that just like I was so excited for that to do that again. And I walked in and they were like, "Yeah, Hasbro didn't like that we were doing that in their backyard, so they told us we can't."
people were mad, and people were like complaining about Hasbro and stuff like that. And it kind of put a weird cloud over TFCon, because it's like people were talking more about the frustration they had with Hasbro rather than talking about like the enjoyment we're having at a Transformer convention. And so, that's a tough thing. I know we only got a couple more minutes, so if there's any last minute questions.
Yeah. What I'd like to touch on real quickly, Jamal mentioned, what if you had, some dealers on one day, some dealers on another? We've talked about, trying to get more and more dealers in the show and expanding to have the full gym, not just the half the gym that we have. Something that'd be interesting to hear from the dealers especially is, what would you think of, instead of trying to get the full gym for one day, getting the half gym for 2 days?
Ooh, that's a good question for the dealers. I would love to hear the feedback on that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Oh, Jamal might have just solved one of our problems. So we talk a lot about, Jamal said, what about a slideshow with collectors' collections to show during the con that could captivate people's attention and could drive interest in collectors' panels? We've talked about displaying collections, but I think the biggest issue with that was always security and making sure that stuff didn't get snatched. I think just having a slideshow of collections, that could be a solution. Something a little kind of simple. The other thing too is we really need I need to go to Kent Commons and convince them to upgrade their technology as far as projectors. But
yeah, I was happy that they had external speakers, so we didn't have to use the built-in intercoms thing where the microphone didn't work half the time. I actually brought some of my speakers in my PA system, but they already had one. And I think that worked out quite a bit better than it did in the previous years. I mean, that's the kind of thing. We're always kind of trying to solve the next problem. Mm-hmm. And it is what it is, and we're just trying to make sure that we can have fun with the show as much as everyone else, and try to make it as accessible for everybody.
In short, next year is going to be really cool, whatever we do. I've gotten like 6 new ideas just from this 25-minute chat. But now that we've gone forward a little bit, you guys want to go back to CybCon?
Yes.
Yeah, you know
We'll
what? Why don't we talk to Greg? Why don't we
talk
close
to Greg.
this and have Greg come? Bye, guys. Everyone say bye.
Thank you.
Bye
Bye.
for your input.